Okay, so I want to talk just a moment about partnerships. One thing that I have been really honing in on the last 2 years is writing out what exactly is it that I believe God wants me to do with the ministry He has given me. So, as I've been writing this down, and this is something I've got to, I would say, add in specifically. But the one thing I am realizing is the importance of partnership. Now, one thing that we do typically because I've gone through this whole thing of like, well, do I start a church? Do I do this? All this stuff, and we go through this. And, here's the thing. The vision that God's given me is outrageously huge. It's honestly something that, and I've studied a lot of ministries. It's something I don't think I've seen before. And maybe it has, and maybe it's under wraps, or maybe it's hidden and I just don't know about it. But here's the thing. There's no way that we can do this on our own. And I think that's where we fail, especially in the Christian community, a lot. We really get hung up on trying to be this Superman or Superwoman, and that's not how it goes. I've been listening to Joyce Meyer a lot, and she's been bringing up those times leading up to when she really made it big as a minister. And, she really had a rough time there for about a good decade or two. And she talks about that, and she talks very transparently about that. And it's easy for us to look at her now and be like, oh, she's making all this money and blah, 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 blah. And people talk trash. That's neither here nor there. But ultimately, like Ecclesiastes 4:12, it says a threefold cord is not easily broken. And I think that's important. Like, a lot of times we think about marriage. We think about the man, the woman, and God. We think about it that way. But listen, it's the same thing with ministry. And, if we're going to do something for the Lord, us trying to do it single-handedly is not going to work. Number one, it also says, fail not to assemble yourselves together. Why is that? I remember when I was married, me and her were up at Asbury Seminary for her, for her schooling, basically. And the one thing that they talked about a lot was community. And it was the first time I had heard this word community being used so much in the church. And it was mind-blowing. Now, they're kind of rooted in the Methodist tradition, too, so that kind of enlightened me to that. But I guess the point I'm making is there's a reason why there's an emphasis on us assembling together, on us developing healthy churches and healthy relationships with other believers. I visited Harvest Church here in Harvest Triad, I believe. Harvest World Outreach, but it's Harvest Triad if you look it up, I believe. Pastor Joseph Coyne. And, I went there with my mom when I was a child, when they first started, and now they're this huge, thriving church. And I think it's beautiful what they're doing. But he said he was talking about a friend of his who had been through some stuff, and he made the point that it really makes things a lot different. It makes things a lot different when you have people by you to encourage you and lift you up and support you and pray you through. It makes a world of difference. I'll never forget my grandfather told me about my great-grandfather Turner, which was his father-in-law, basically. And he said he knew that he was no longer here. When he passed away, he missed his prayers. He missed his prayers because he knew those prayers that Turner prayed for him were that impactful. And apparently Turner was a really praying man. He was very, 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 very close to God from what I see. And I saw this home movie and I saw him blessing the food. And oh my goodness, I'm just looking and it's silent, but you can just see he's like, you know, to be a Quaker, he was praying pretty hard, you know. And I was just like, man, okay. You know, so I say all that to say this. To have other believers around us, to have that support system, to have that community, it keeps us grounded. It keeps us, look, when we're about to walk off the cliff, okay, because we're gonna have moments like that. Whether you want to admit it or not, take heed when you think you stand, lest you fall. Take heed when you think you stand, lest you fall. Don't get too arrogant. Don't get too cocky about it. Okay, yeah, greater is he who's in you than he who's in the world, but don't get too cocky, because what ends up happening is you're going to have a moment of vulnerability. There's going to be moments of vulnerability. There's going to be moments of trial. There's going to be moments where things are not going to be going the way you want them to go, and there's going to be moments where you are about to walk off the cliff, and it is very, very beneficial to have some people or a person there to say, hey, Matthew, get back over here. Or to grab me by the hood or the collar or whatever and be like, bro, get over here. No, you're about to go off the cliff, son. Stop. That means something. And then, you know, there's those times where you can't say nothing to people, but you're praying for them. You're interceding for them. You're standing in the gap. That means a lot. That means everything sometimes. You think that doesn't compel God to action? Come on. You know it does. So anyway, partnerships. It is so vital that we don't try to do this alone. It's vital. You need to make connections. Get mentors. Get mentorees. As much as you pour into people, you need people pouring into you just as much, if not more so. Especially if you're a pastor, especially if you're in full-time ministry, any type of ministry that is taking up your time and you're pouring, anything where you're pouring into people all the time, you got to have somebody pouring into you. You can't do it by yourself. So anyway, that's something I'm looking at with the ministry God has given me. And I just want to share that with you. I want to encourage you to press forward with community, press forward on making good, healthy, non-toxic, godly connections, okay? Good Bible-based churches, things like that. You need that. Don't try to go out here and do it by yourself. Don't go out here and try to do it by yourself. And I remember, I think I asked my grandfather even one time about, you know, being a minister and being a pastor and all this. And he made the point, you want to have a covering. I don't know if he used those words, but you want to have a covering in the sense that you have some support and accountability. I've seen a lot of pastors with no accountability, or the people they're accountable to are not accountable to anybody, etc., etc. And I have seen some very disastrous things happen. Okay? You got to have some accountability. You got, like I said, those mentors, those mentorees, etc. But, you know, the last thing I'll say about partnership. For instance, I know I'm not fit for prison ministry. That's just not me. It don't mean I couldn't go into a prison and be part of it. It just means it's not me. It's not in me, you know? That's not my style. That's not the way God uses me. It's not a bad thing, but it's something I'm passionate about. So I know for a fact, guess what? That might not be my thing, but guess what? I know people who it is their thing. So guess what I need to do? I need to hook up with those people. So that way we can work together. So we can make something happen. You feel me? That's what I'm saying to you. Don't take the hard way. Okay? As far as like, well, let me build this myself. I got to build my legacy. No. Partner, community, accountability, mentors, mentorees, making those connections and maintaining those connections, okay? That's all I'm saying. I hope that's meaningful. I hope that blesses you. I hope it helps you. Like I said, it's helping me talking about it, and I just felt like I needed to talk about it, one, for my own benefit, But I felt like, this might benefit somebody out there. So if it does, hey, let me know. Let me hear from you. Thanks. Take care of yourselves.